Thanks for agreeing to be interviewed today, Mr. Workman. Before I start to ask you any questions, I'll just ask you to state your name and your title and your role here at the RSL.
My name is Ron Workman, and my role is twofold. One, President of the Currumbin RSL sub-branch and Chairman of the Board of the Currumbin RSL Services and Memorial Club.
Great. Now, the other day I was looking online and I saw a rather lovely interview with you on the Australia Remembers site, in which you talk about your early life and your service in Vietnam. So rather than do that interview again, I think for our purposes today, I might just ask you about your life after Vietnam. I might get you to just say the unit you served with, and then might just ask you a bit about your life after Vietnam in order just to determine how you came to be in the role that you're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So if you could just say, what was a unit in Vietnam, and when you got home from the war, how did your sort of career and service evolve, and how did you find yourself here?
Well, the year I was in Vietnam was 1965, and we were assigned under the operational command of the 315th Air Commando Group, and who directly supported the Special Forces camps from one end of Vietnam to the other. And the role was contained flares at the night time, under siege, Special Forces camps under siege, supply of obvious weaponry and war ammunition, and the saddest one was taking in the replacements and taking out a lot of dead. So thereafter, there were no body bags during that era, and so it was a quite unpleasant couple of moments. And to me, that sort of stays with me to this moment in time. And thereafter, I went back to the squadron and as chief instructor of all technical aircrew going into Vietnam, and also training the pilots on all aspects of the technical component of the aircraft. Thereafter I went on to Hercules and decided to make a move into civilian life, and I went back and studied economics, and ended up being a rugby league player to start with, and that was the only way my wife and I could afford a house. So in the crossroads of life, I went that way to make money in rugby league, and instead of accepting an officer's course 3 times, I knocked them back 3 times. So then after that, I found myself in Queensland, and we had a family business, and I took on the Gold Coast Rugby League, and I replaced the mayor who passed away. I replaced him as an alderman, and that was a great exercise in human nature, like Vietnam. And so from thereafter, I learned a lot. I was on town planning portfolio, and I enjoyed that. And so then I found myself in Jeepers Casino in the pre-opening management team, and it was there that I became involved with this RSL, and ended up taking over the Vietnam veterans of the Gold Coast, and they gave that to me in a shoebox outside this club in the car park. The experience there was post Vietnam was quite sad, very, very sad indeed. We had quite a few suicides, and on that basis I stood for the board here in 1990 and was successful, and my sincerity of intent was to open a support centre to assist veterans in need with their post-traumatic stress, and widows in need also. And that has now been going 18 years, and something I'm very proud of, and it certainly assisted those people in need. From a suicide point of view, although I did lose my welfare officer. He committed suicide. Marge and I were going to take him camping the next day, and he took it upon himself to go somewhere else. So from there onwards, I was very strong with my core values of the RSL, and that was to initiate that support centre, and that's been going for 18 years, along with the College of Hospitality. And that, to me, was very essential with my experience in Jupiter's Casino, whereby I saw that many transients go through in the training process and go on to worldwide issues. The most loyal were youth on the Gold Coast. And so annexing that to an environment over the road at the RSL has proven exceptionally successful, where a lot of our youth now in this community have gone to better things by far, and some of them overseas, air hostess and whatever, you know. So that in itself is a proud moment for this RSL, and we've got a great team of people here. They're beautiful people, and they've been with me for many, many years. I've got daughter 1, daughter 2, daughter 3. So I've been here in the chair since 1995, so that's 26 years now. So it's a long while, and so having said that, our first dawn service down at Elephant Rock, we probably had about 50 people. And
how long has the dawn service been at Elephant? Has it always been at Elephant Rock?
67 years. This is 67th anniversary this year. So it's been an ongoing issue, and sometimes the weather pattern didn't allow that to take place. And but it's one of the most extraordinary platforms at dawn to be reverent in looking, you know, projecting the Anzac image.
So that was my next question. Why there and not here?
Well, I've never even thought of it, the dawn service being here. We have a lot of memories down there, and to the extent where the community, and we embrace the community, and it's to participate, and as you can see, the poppies coming down the Elephant Rock, that's community input. And so and I have to say, back in the old days, this place was a fairly wild area, and so now what we've done is, as an RSL, we'd like to say put some dignity into the community, and the dignity aspect is expressed in what they do with us at the moment. And so that in itself is a very proud thing, and some of our kids at the local little runabouts, we put them in the Kokoda youth program, and some of them have served their country. How's that? So so that's where we are, and I make a point of, when I do the dawn services, to do visuals so that the youth can accept the fact that there's no such thing as a nice war. And that visual expression is better than a verbal one. And so we review the footage. It takes me many hours, and actually it takes quite a long while to do that, place and the footage of the appropriate times, the appropriate era. And so Ray Lawler and myself do that. It takes 3 or 4 hours, and you've got to have a break and get away from it. And so we package that up, and Channel 7 have got this year's product already. And 2016 is a very relevant year in our history. In 1916, the first Anzac Day. So this year is 100 years since the first Anzac Day. And then 1916, the Anzacs ended up on the Western Front, from Earls and Pozieres.
Let's go back to the start of the Dawn Service here. Actually, you're saying, how long ago was it? Did the Dawn Service start?
67 years ago.
Right.
And it was from humble beginnings, and you know, you had a little microphone and amplifier there, and that was well, before my time, but we continue the legacy, maintain that legacy of the site. Now there's been a lot of requests for veterans who've passed on the burial at sea. And I think last year, the 100th anniversary, we had 100 boat rowers out there fulfilling that. There's 5 in a boat, and where there was an extraordinary number of people were put to rest. And so that, in embracing the surf lifesaving movement, me being in the surf lifesaving in boat rowing many years ago, they called us the floating coffin. So, Robin, so we've got a good relationship with the surf lifesaving movement. So, and this year there'll be 13 boats out there, putting to rest something like 15, and we've put 2 Vietnam veterans together in one boat, and in the Roll of Honour there'll be 42 in the Roll of Honour and the main Roll of Honour. So that's 42 plus 13, 55 have passed on this year.
Let's talk about the elements of the day. So you've just talked about surf lifesaving. I want to talk about the elements of the day and then all the different community stakeholders who are involved in it. But how does the day proceed? So, well, first of all, when did it start to become sort of the huge event that it is today? I mean, that's quite an evolution.
November the year before. We have our interested parties, and the prime underpinning aspect is Queensland major event police and the concerns we do have now with terrorism, and the major event document, Gold Coast City Council. The first outing with both documents was difficult, but now it's an enjoyment to do, because you know the risk management and your due diligence is in place, and the biggest aspect of that is with a crowd like 35,000 people and the possibility of something happen. That's why the expense is there, because the screens have been a request from the major event police to spread the crowd out further, and they can still have access to the event. So there's no congestion, and that I feel quite comfortable with. And plus there was a concern to reduce that, and I said, well, if you do that, you're going to have congestion, and I'm not going to be a part of it, because we've got our responsibilities. So that is in place this year, and Robin, I can't estimate the numbers that'll be present, but all I can say is all the accommodation houses are booked out. So it's an unknown quantity. Last year I went down there, and I think it was 2:30, and there was traffic jams.
What year was the first major event staged? What year? Like, how far back?
I gradually wanted to create impact moments in time of our history, and it grew from there. And Ray Corker in 2003 saw it. He was at Channel 7, and that's 2004 we started televising nationally, and which is a humbling honour and for us all, and it's something we all work hard for, and we're all very proud of, and it is a massive team effort, and just people movement is a major issue, and so the bus it and park and bus it, that's the main aspect, and it sort of again, assist with our crowd management.
Just list me off some of the organisations, the community stakeholders who contribute to the event.
SES, there'd be 30-something people with SES. The police, ambulance, surf life-saving movement, out at sea and also on parade. School choir, they'll be singing the national anthems, and the doves will be released from young students in different schools. And I have a Anzac Day speech from the schools, which I selected yesterday with the confirmation of my wife of approval. And they will be honoured with that, and the content of youth in their written essays would astound you. So that young person will be nationally televised, and the other one will do the mid-morning service. And so we've got a lovely presentation for them, and that will be done after Anzac Day at the school to the individual speakers. Having said that, we had something like 70 essays to go through, and we picked first and second plus a reserve, and the other 5 were commendations. So it's going to look okay.
And input from the armed forces?
We have the Lieutenant Commander of HMS Canberra turning up. That's the largest vessel in the Australian Navy at the moment. We have Captain Woodley from the Navy representing Royal Australian Navy. We have ADF members coming from far and wide. We've got the Colonel Brett Coleman from the 2nd Commando Regiment, who Cameron Baird served under. He will be present. And we've got 3 Victoria Cross recipient families present. That's Dasher Wheatley. I was with Dasher a week before he got killed in Trebong, and Keith Payne and Cameron Beard and the family. So Dasher and I go back a long way. They called him Dasher, he was a winger, I was a hooker. So I said, when you're in doubt, you always stepped out. So Dasher and I were up at the Geobuck Valley, and I needed plasma to go to a place called Bartow. It was under siege, and he got me the plasma. And so the strip had just been pumped up from rice paddies. The compaction wasn't there for a twin-engine transport aircraft. So the CEO was with the CEO commanding officer with me, Doug Harvey. I flew a fair bit with him, and I said, Doug, we've got to get it in. And he said, oh no, son. And so he flew bombers over Europe in World War II. He was a very stable man. I said, well, you keep the aircraft taxiing so you don't sink. I'll do the runner into the ditch with the plasma. He said, righto. And I had this little Paddy Mills, he lives in Wagga now. Marge comes from Wagga. I said, Paddy, keep an eye on me. When was the last time you fired the weapon? He said, I haven't. I said, well, keep an eye on me in case something goes down. I'm going to do a runner. I said, don't shoot over my head. If you hear a splattering, please, not me. So I've done the runner. Sporadic fire came up. Next went bang, the crack went straight past me here, and it was Paddy Mills. I looked at him. He's saying, I'm sorry. So I've jumped into the ditch, gave him the plasma. They said, Ronnie, you're going to pick us up for Anzac Day? And I said, I doubt that could happen. I did 2 Australian training team guys, you know, and so I said, listen, you better come back to the aircraft with me. I've got something for you. So we raced back to the aircraft, and I've been carrying this carton of Riche's beer for about a month trying to find these guys. And I said, here you go. He said, you're kidding. I said, no, I'm not. Take it. And he said, take me 9mm Spicer submachine gun. I said, what am I going to do with an aircraft with a 9mm submachine gun up in the air? And it's like throwing peas at these blokes, you know. So anyway, the last I saw of them, they had a can of beer in their hands each. One jumped up and clicked his heels. I haven't seen them since. I'm going to put a story in with the Australian Army training team about that because I'm part of history. Anyway, the siege was contained, and so we flew off, and I brought a 105 howitzer cannon back in there one day and done a good job.
That's
so
a
that's
great
just a moment in time, Robin.
Yeah, it's a great story. What are the future plans for the Dawn Service event? It's so big now.
Well, it's a subject that's is very conscious to us, and the cost components are increasing every year for obvious reasons, and how we do it, I haven't got the answer yet. And the aspect of we tried crowdfunding, and you can understand people being negative about it because we're an RSL, and but the money that is costing us is taking away our intent for our core business, and that's Soldier On. We have Annex Soldier On is very the contemporary soldier, and they need a hand more than you ever realise, and the amount of suicides that are taking place now, it's just going back to the Vietnam era, you know, and they need a hand, and the intelligence of the current soldier is far superior, and I'm not just being disrespectful. These gentlemen like to talk to their own people, and that's understandable. And so annexing them, we've got quite a few options, and we want to expedite that as soon as possible in view of what we're experiencing.
So let me just ask you a couple of questions just about Anzac Day in general. What for you is the most why is Anzac Day significant, and what's significant about it for you?
When I first started, the Anzac patronisation was minimal. It just wasn't there. And then there was by way of what we've done here, and I think it was an example of what was done all over Australia, you know, by way of getting into the schools, and as you may have noticed there, we had school excursions here this morning, and closing the gap is what the word is, and closing the gap and getting the children to understand and accept the past, because that's the past and they're the future. And they're accepting that challenge, and I'll be talking at Coomera Anglican College on Friday morning, and the girl there, Kerry Brown, wrote a book of Closing the Gap, and I helped her here, and she dedicated the book to me. So then all of a sudden, out of the blue, a call came from the college and said, Kerry Brown's here and she'd love you to talk pre-Anzac Day. And I said, you never let your mates down, so I'll be there. So that regeneration, to answer your question, has been ongoing, and I'd like to say Currumbin RSL has played a strong part of that. When you look at where the Dawn Service is televised, it's just that in conjunction with what happens in those towns and city, you know, you find that that emotional component coming to the surface, which is what Australians are all about.
So that's what you'd like people to take away from the commemoration from such a service?
Yeah. And well, if you forget the past, you'll never have a future. That's one thing I've said a couple of years ago.
I think that's a lovely way to end the interview, actually. That's a lovely statement. Thanks very much, Mr. Workman.
Pleasure.